Hi everyone, this is Meryl Geffner. I am the librarian that works with the business classes. This is a video that will walk you through how to cite your sources in MLA format. So why do we need to cite? To cite sources. Citations are the way we acknowledge material borrowed from another source. So anytime you include information from a source that's outside of your own brain or your own experience, you need to cite it. And here are three main reasons that you need to cite your sources. One, it gives credibility to your work. It shows your instructor or whoever is reading your report or watching your presentation that you found a source of value in this particular piece, and that you have read it and incorporated it into your work, that it is important enough and reliable enough that you would want to use it. Number two, it gives credit to those who created the information, to the original author. Because remember, if you take information from somewhere else and you do not cite it, if you do not give credit, you're basically claiming those words or ideas as your own, and that, you know, is plagiarism. And the third is it helps your reader to find your sources in case they want to learn more about your topic or follow up on your evidence. You'll give credit to the author or creator in two places. One is at the end of your report or presentation or essay, and this is called a works cited list. The other is within the body of your report, presentation, or essay, and this is called an in-text citation. We are going to start by looking at the works cited list, and I have examples for two different types of sources that I think you might be using, certainly while you're during your academic time at Edmonds, and possibly beyond. The first is a report from Merchant Intellect. The other is an article from the Seattle Times. If you are in Management 275, most likely you definitely will be using Merchant Intellect and will need to cite it, and it's likely you'll be using an article that you find on the web. So that's why I'm providing you with these specific examples. Just to briefly show you that the way MLA works is they have this idea of containers. So you have the basic elements, which are always going to be the author, and then the title, and then whatever information you can find kind of just flows after that. So let's take a look at what this looks like when you actually look at a citation. So here, first, like I said, I'm going to start with something from Merchant Intellect, and this is a little bit different, but I'm going to go to the page in Merchant Intellect to show you. We are actually looking at a report. And let's say I'm doing a report, my company report on Starbucks. So I'm going to go ahead and just search for that report. And once I have it, if I'm using information from here, I need to cite it. So let's say that I am specifically focused on pulling the financial details from this income statement from 2023. So I need to give credit to this database that this is where I got the information. And there are two ways to do that. You'll notice that in Merchant Intellect, and you'll find this might be true in other sources you use, such as organization websites or company websites, government websites, that there isn't an individual author. And as I said, MLA, if there is an author, that is always the first element. So there's two ways to approach this. One is you can treat Merchant Inc., which is the company, as the author itself. And if you do that, then you would start with Merchant Inc., just like you would with an author's name. That would be your first element. Next would come the specific part of the report that I'm citing. So I kind of want to treat this like a small piece within something bigger, right? So this is the financial details and the income statement. That is the part that I'm citing. Next comes the place where the big report where this piece is found, which is Starbucks Corporation. It's the entire report right here. And so that follows the title of the portion that you're citing, which is in quotes, and Starbucks Corporation, which is the bigger site itself, is in italics. Next comes the date. And sometimes it might be a little hard to find the date. I know in Merchant Intellect, if you want to go, you go to the main screen and scroll down, and usually there is some kind of a last updated date here. And the date is very important, right? You want to make sure you are pulling information. You want to know when you are pulling the information from, what time period or what year. So we're going to add that, November 2023. And because this is a library database, we need to also include that in our citation. So we have this is again the idea of containers. We have the smaller article or the piece of the report, we have the full report, and both of these are contained within the database, which is larger, because the database contains many reports. But we include that's in italics, and then we end with the URL. And this should take you directly to, your reader directly to this portion of Merchant Intellect. So that's one way. The other way, and this is true for other sources you use, if you don't have an author, you can start your citation with the title of the article, or in this case, the piece of the report that we are citing. So you can just start with that, and you can see just set it up very similarly. And again, it'll follow like this one. You want to have the name of the report, the full report. And because we did not identify the company where this information is contained, we need to include that here, Merchant Inc. And then it ends the same way, month, year, and then because of the database name, Merchant Intellect, ending with the URL. So those are two examples for Merchant Intellect. The other source I want to show you is an article from a website, basically the Seattle Times. And if I use this article, most of the information I need should be right up front here. So let's go back to our basic setup. Remember, if you have a named author, you always start with the author. And you can see there is her name right here, very clear, who wrote this piece. And in MLA, it is always, the author's name is always set up last name first, then first name, and then the title of the article, in quotes, and where the article is published, which is the name of the publication, Seattle Times, in italics, and then the date. And you can see here we have a little more information to add. We actually have a day. We didn't have that for Merchant Intellect, and that's fine. But if you look here, you see that it tells us April 3rd. So whatever information you can find on the source is the information you include. If it's not there, don't go looking for it. You just use what you have. But here we're going to add the date, comma, and then end with the URL, because that's all the information that we have for this particular source. Okay, so the other piece that is important to include and when you're doing your MLA citation is an in-text citation. And the standard format for an in-text citation is in parentheses, the author's last name and the page number, no comma, close parentheses. And you put that at the very end of the portion of your sentence or your couple sentences or your quote, whatever you are referring to. Now what you'll find is that many of your sources will not have page numbers, and that's going to be true if you're on the web particularly, and that was also true in Merchant Intellect. There were no page numbers. So if you don't have a page number, you just don't include a page number. That will tell your reader or whoever's viewing a presentation that this is most likely an electronic version, and there's no page number. There's no hard copy with a page number. Again, there are two ways to set up your in-text citation, and I'm going to this is the same Seattle Times article as I showed you above. So one is if you, in your sentence, you name the author. Here's an example. The author reports, and then the quote. You do not need to have this parentheses at the end because there's no page number and you've already named the author. And that's really what your reader needs to know, is who is the author. The other example, though, is if you do not name the author, Amazon Layups will, and then the quote, then you put the author's name at the very end in parentheses with the period outside the parentheses. And this basically, both formats are telling your reader or whoever's seeing your presentation to go look at the works cited list. Your works cited list is always alphabetical by last name. They will know to look for an R and they'll find it here. They can then go look it up themselves. So that's how you do an in-text citation. Remember, there are a couple different ways to do it, and it all depends how you incorporate the author information into your text, into the sentence or into the paragraph. Okay, a few tips. Remember, you need to cite anytime that you paraphrase, summarize, or directly quote information that is not your own. So it's not just direct quotes, it's paraphrasing and summarizing. Also, it doesn't matter where you found the information. It can be from a library database, it could be from a book, it could be free on the web. It doesn't matter. You want to cite it. It also doesn't matter what type of source it is, what the format is. It can be print, it can be online, it can be an image, it can be an email conversation, it could be a video. You need to cite it if you take information from it. And then lastly, just a reminder, a URL standing on its own is not a citation. And here is a page. Please reach out for help. The librarian, myself, and other librarians are always available to help you. So I hope this was helpful, and have a great day.